Hey, Dr. J here. I want to talk to you real quick about another small word that has a very big meaning, and that is ego, right? Yesterday I was at work and I was talking with a coworker, and we were talking about a case of hers, and I said, hey, how'd it go? And she said, it was a mess. It fell apart. And I'm like, well, why? What happened? And she said the couples, the parents, their egos were so big that we couldn't get anything accomplished. And I started to think about what that means, right? Because if you think about it, the word ego actually means I, right? So we all have an ego because we all have an identity. But how much of that ego is actually our identity? How much of that ego do we allow to control us, to rule us, and make decisions for us, right? There's a difference, and I don't want you to get confused. There's a difference between ego and confidence, right? Confidence is also referring to I, how you feel about yourself. And so with ego and confidence, because they are different, the way you know that your confidence has gotten too far is when it becomes inflated. When you have an inflated confidence, that becomes egotistical, right? And egotistical can then develop egotism, and being egotistical is the foundation of narcissism, right? So if you start to let your inflated ego take over and make decisions, and it always is about you, right? It's I. Only your feelings matter. Only what you want matters. Only your opinion matters. You get the big piece of chicken because you're the only one working, or your family needs whatever, your kids need whatever, but because you want to shine, they miss out on things because it's always I. We have to be very careful with walking around with an inflated ego, because what it does is you turn into a creep. Nobody wants to be around you. It's hard to love you. And it's hard to be friends with people like that because it's always about them. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be around that. So we have to be very careful about how we allow ego, right, to rule us. Have we become solely our ego? Because if that is the case, then you better get that in check. You better check that, because nobody's going to want to be around you. It's going to be difficult to love you. It's going to be difficult to be friends with you. You got to figure out what is the root of that. It has to be about me, right? Is it disappointment? Is it rejection that you've had in your life? All of that has to be considered, right? Because if we allow our ego to become inflated, and we become egotistical, and then that becomes inflated, and we become a narcissist, right? Then what really good can come from that? You might have people that fear you, but do they really love you? You might have people around you to give you a yes, but what are they doing behind your back? Because in front of your face it's a yes, but behind your back it's a whatever else. So let us be very mindful of how we lead with our ego and being egotistical, because it could not be so well. It could not go well for you. And one thing about ego, and I'll close with this. A lot of times people feel like a bruised ego is a bad thing, right? Like their ego is bruised, so now they're just out to get everybody, right? They're just going to talk to people the way they want to. They're going to lie, say mean things, all of this stuff because people have a bruised ego. Don't take a bruised ego as a loss. Don't take a bruised ego as a loss, right? Take it as a lesson. Take it as a lesson because you got to consider what in me, in my inflated ego was crushing, right? Is that really me that was crushed, or was it my ego that was bruised? And if your ego was bruised, take it as a lesson that maybe you need to come down a peg or two. All right? Hope you got something out of that. And I'll talk to you on the next go round.